Well, hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is just a short introduction to a video I've been working on for a while now. I almost had it finished and then I accidentally deleted everything, so I had to start again. And it's one I alluded to a few times in the last few videos. Is a trip that my wife and I and some friends did recently on a boat that plies the Murray River as a tourist boat called the Proud Mary. Proud Mary keeps on cruising, you know the song. Anyway, I did some video, I did some stills on that trip. We went on about 3 nights, I think, well no, 2 nights and 3 days we spent on the river, going from Murray Bridge to Mannum, I think, and probably back to Murray Bridge, I'm not sure, I think we did. Anyway, it's a great trip, and you stay in cabins, and we had a dining room that everyone went and had their meals in because we're in the middle of COVID. Normally they would have had a buffet that you serve yourself, but we were served, we would order stuff on the, order our food on the menu that they brought round to us, and then when we finished what we were eating we could tick another box and order something else. So it was a bit like a buffet, but actually being served continuously by the staff there, who were wonderful incidentally. They have a staff of about 5 or 6, maybe 7 on board the boat while you're travelling. A captain and a couple of attendants and a cook obviously, and the people running the engines. It's not a paddle steamer, it's probably a diesel boat I think, I'm not sure, but I'll give you some links to the Proud Mary trips you can go on if you happen to be in South Australia or can get to South Australia, and they're well worth it. On this video I've actually I've incorporated a number of still shots from the trip, and I've also thrown in a few still shots that I took some years ago on a houseboat trip that we did with some friends on the Murray, on a similar part of the river. And the reason I've thrown in some of the photos because it just helps to illustrate the bird life and the surroundings a little bit more than what I actually captured on that trip. So it's a bit of a composite, this video is going to be. Anyway, I trust you will enjoy it, and let me know what you think in the comments if you wish, and like if you like, subscribe if you wish, and after you've watched it all the way through, of course. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Well, we started off in Murray Bridge. This is where the boat leaves from. It was a rainy, wet afternoon. We'd travelled up from Adelaide. There's the Proud Mary and Captain Proud in the background. This is a houseboat that was waiting to get going as well on their own journey. This is some shots I took on the deck, on the ground first, before we took off on the boat from underneath the bridge, and you'll see a few more shots in a minute, which, as I said before, I took on a previous trip some years ago on a houseboat trip, which I did some stills of, so we'll be coming up to that in a second, and you'll see some of these shots just after this one goes past. Here's some pigeons on the bridge. And going underneath the bridge, these are all taken quite some time ago, these shots. It's an iconic bridge, the Murray Bridge, that goes over the river at South Australia. A rail bridge and a vehicle bridge. Very popular area. Know if this boat you're about to see is still on the river. It might be, but with a different name. Have a look at that one. Anyway, we go past here. This is from a long time ago, the Murray Bridge Boat Club. A lot of activity on the river, and here's some people out practicing their rowing. Some nice shots from our houseboat. Houseboat's a bit more intimate than travelling on a big boat like the Proud Mary. You can drive yourself and please where you go, but you've got to stick to the right hand side of the river. There's lots of old buildings that you can look at, historical buildings on the riverside, and other small houseboats that someone's built. That one's called the Cato, I think, and all sorts of interesting things on the side of the river. There's an old tram up there, and of course you're passing other houseboats, or they're passing you. You go past all sorts of interesting ramshackle little places. There's an interesting houseboat. And that's the view from, this is the view from the rail on the side of the houseboat as you're going along. Some more houses there. It's all just a fascinating tapestry. And here's another boat again, this is actually the Captain Proud. before it was changed. The colours have been changed now. This was a few years back, and now that one you saw earlier, it's got different colouring on it instead of those blue rails. This is our captain getting us underway, steering the ship. Wonderful man. And he actually let me take the wheel and get inside the steering housing platform later on. This is inside the dining room, which is where the centre of activity when we weren't on the side of the boat or off on an excursion, and everyone was in here and entertained. You'll see some entertainers a bit later on who entertain us with their singing, and so that's where we all started. We all found our spots and stayed there, and they served us with food from a buffet, and we weren't allowed to pick it out ourselves, but they served us. It's amazing how as you go along the river you see how many people actually live on the river, if not permanently. A lot of these places are holiday houses that they've built probably some time ago, and these days they are worth quite a lot of money, and that might not have cost all that much years ago.
Beautiful beachside holiday shacks here. That's a little camera. Sorry? I've got a few cameras.
Now we're just coming into our first mooring place on the first night, and that's a houseboat that was in the same area where we were. And now you'll just see the tying up of the Proud Mary to a tree, I think, on the side of the river. Now amazingly, the next morning when we got going, we were greeted by this incredible lineup of sheep along the top of the cliffs. And someone said, one of our party said, "Oh, there's a camel there." And it wasn't a camel, but there it is. It's actually a black alpaca. And the theory is that alpacas are supposed to be good at chasing off predators in flocks of sheep. I don't know that that's all that effective, but the predators that sheep have would be foxes and sometimes dingoes or wild dogs. So that's why the alpaca was up there. So this was really quite amazing. Hi folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Here we are at Till Flat on the Murray River, and we've been having a wonderful weekend, taking lots of photos, and we're just about to go on a little eco cruise in a flat bottom boat with a few other people, and hopefully I've taken a bit of video while we've been here and lots of stills, so hopefully I'll be able to put something together for my YouTube channel. And also on my...
Take a photo of them, you may not see them again. No, I don't know where they got to. I was looking for them, I couldn't find them. But ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. But due to circumstances beyond your stuck with me. Now, as we are cruising this afternoon, just a couple of things to say. We do ask that please keep your arms and your hands in this side of the boat. It's not because of the crocodiles, it's because of the piranha that were introduced to control the crocodiles. As we are and we spot something going out in this direction by the use of the hour of the clock. So very conveniently facing forward.
These photos here and a bit of video here was obviously not the boat that I was on. It was the one before us, but when they were taking off, the captain saw me there with my camera, and he partly suggested that I should take some photos in case I never came back again. So I took a few photos. So I hope the people don't mind. and you'll see a few people, they've all got smiles on their faces because the captain's very entertaining, and he gave us a really interesting commentary on the whole trip, very knowledgeable about the flora and fauna and the river and the cliffs and what's in the cliffs. As we were travelling along this part of the river, the captain pointed out that as we were coming up to a bird in the willows there, which you might see in a moment, and he was pointing out that it was actually a darter, or Australian snake bird. In some parts of the world, you can see it just coming into the picture there. In some parts of the world, they're called an anhinga. They're different to the cormorants that you see frequently on the river that some people call shags, but aren't actually shags. They're different in that they don't have a hook on the end of their beak, and when they're in the water they travel along as if they are with their head, just their neck and head out the water. They do actually look like a snake. You'll see some still shots in a moment showing that what they actually look like. So here you see one with its neck out of the water. It does look like a snake, doesn't it? And there's another shot and another shot just before it decided it was going to submerge. And here's what you see once they've submerged, and they stay underwater for quite some time. Now these next few shots are taken many years back, as I said, on the houseboat before, showing some shots of the same bird, or the same type of bird, a darter, sunning itself. They have to dry their wings. Their wings don't naturally dry out, so they have to dry them before they can actually fly again. They're a beautiful bird though. And there's another one there sitting on the side of the river on a branch, and there's a snake bird or an anhinga on the left and cormorants on the right. There he is again. And there on the left is a cormorant, and on the top there is a darter. The Murray River is renowned for its tall red sandstone cliffs, and sometimes lots of granite boulders along the way as well. And you can see lots of wonderful drone footage on some channels on YouTube, particularly by Shane Strudwick. I'll put a link into his drones shots of the cliffs of the River Murray to have a look underneath this this post on this film on my YouTube channel. Once again, more houseboats. The River Murray is just a playground for people to come and relax and spend holidays and stay in their shacks or hire houseboats, or actually live in their own houseboats. I think if I was ever single and retired somewhere, I'd probably go and live on a houseboat. I love them. Even though the willow tree is not native to Australia, it provides a beautiful contrast to the red cliffs as you go along the river in a houseboat, and it's also a great place for birds to nest and hide, and fish get in there as well, of course, who shelter from their predators. And one of the birds that is in there and nesting or roosting quite often is the Nankeen night heron, which you mainly see at night, of course, but you can see them in the daytime. But yeah, they look really nice, these willows, as you go past. It's just so relaxing when you're going along on a boat and looking at all of this passing parade, because there's lots of things in the cliffs. There's little holes where birds nest, and there's fossils from years and years ago. And underneath an overhang like this, you sort of feel like you've got to duck your head as you go under this. But you'll have a look up in a minute. As we look up at the ceiling, you'll see all these mud nests of the fairy martins, which are a type of swallow. And they make these bottle nests out of mud. Here we're coming up to them now. You should be able to see them now as we're passing underneath. That's looking straight up over our heads at the nests of the fairy martins. And Lots of animals and little hollows in the cliffs where animals, of course, can hide. Back out from under the overhang now and going alongside of the cliff. Just going to show you a little bit of a slideshow in a moment that I took as we were going along on the boat. It's just some still shots of some of the scenes that we've been looking at, and for the next I don't know, a dozen or more frames, I'll just let you have a look at some of those. Over these next several slides, I'll show you the passing parade of birds that we saw. Not brilliant photos. There's a couple of galahs and an eagle's nest there up in the dead tree. Not all these shots are fantastic. We're in a moving boat and quickly throwing the camera around in all directions, and hopefully you'll be able to see some of the birds. That's another snake bird going back into the willows there. It's one of our normal wood ducks that we have along the Murray. I must have liked him. I took a few shots. There's another darter, bit of a more close-up shot of what they look like. And then there's one coming up here where he's up in a branch, another darter, and he's getting a bit wary of me with pointing the camera at him, and he's getting ready to take off, and you'll see him take off in a minute. I should really get serious about bird photography one day and do it properly. Off he goes. Now this is a whistling eagle or a little eagle, I'm not sure which one, probably a little eagle. Very common along the river, and this one's up there having a look at the world go past, and he was having a good look at us as we went past. Turning his head from side to side, having a good look around. Now we come up to the Australian pelican. We were going past this one, and he was just preening himself on the branches. Beautiful birds, quite large. He's getting a bit wary and thinking he might take off. Now we're coming back to the boat in a minute, and you'll be able to see a little bit of a glimpse of the entertainment that we had on board the boat. There we're coming back to the Proud Mary, and that particular night was a Saturday night. We were going to go ashore and have a party in the under the trees, but the weather report wasn't good, so we stayed on board. This is Acoustic Highway. I've taken down the sound so that we don't infringe copyright. So here's a few shots as we were travelling back the next day, and I think we'll just let these fade out towards the end, and we'll finish off with a passing parade of pelicans on the side of the river to finish off our little video on this occasion. So thanks for watching. Maybe you got through to the end of it, and like if you like, subscribe if you wish, and we'll see you next time. See you later.